Hello everybody, Andrew Casey from Hypersanitybooks. Today I'll be discussing Ghostbusters the Novelization. Within this video, each discussion does come back towards writing and suggestions on writing. However, as one big disclaimer, there are certain references within the novelization. I do want to keep the video to a PG rating, though there are a lot of sexual references within the novelization that make the movie, if you were to compare it, even worse to that comparison. Otherwise, there are some interesting tips you can learn. We'll just get into it. Number 10. Written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Dan Aykroyd first had the idea for Ghostbusters and approached his good friend Harold Ramis. Harold Ramis does not believe in ghosts. However, he did love the idea of the film. They both worked on the script together. Now, for writing a book, you might have two minds that are very different working on a book. So with Dan Aykroyd, he was more of a structured writer, so he outlined a lot of the script, whereas Harold Ramis just kept writing notes. He's more of a pantser. The two minds work extremely well together to create the script for Ghostbusters. Number 9. The Other Ghostbusters. In 1975, there was a live-action series called The Ghostbusters. Little did Dan Aykroyd know that that was already something of a TV show in the mid-70s. It was more of a live-action Scooby-Doo type of feel to the show.
We're the Ghostbusters. I'm Spencer. He's Tracy. I'm Kong.
So the show, it had its own quirkiness, but it only lasted for one season and 15 episodes. Though there was legal issues between both parties, between the licensing, because Ghostbusters needed to remain Ghostbusters. Otherwise, both parties ultimately civilly settled out of court, and after the movie was done, cartoons went into production, which also led into Filmation picking up where they left off with their original story involving the two characters' sons. Now, yes, this cartoon's not that good, but it's kind of cool and nerdy in its own wacky way. But the other show, that from the movie that we know, Ghostbusters, it called its cartoon The Real Ghostbusters. Number 8. Internal dialogue may help your writing. One thing with novelizations that I do like is comparing the internal dialogue to the film. Sometimes it adds more to the character. I like that type of structure in a book because you got a reference tool to go back to, and if you are familiar with a film that you do enjoy, that is a good way to learn little pieces on how to write internal dialogue. The librarian in the beginning of the story sees a copy of the Kama Sutra. She has dirty, wicked thoughts in her mind, and she's being chased by a ghost. So she thinks the library ghost is a ghost haunting her for having these dirty thoughts. Now, I also want to say that the character is younger in the book than in the film. Number 7. Deleted scenes. A lot of the deleted scenes came out 20, 30 years later. So I found that interesting that this novelization was written off the source material. So when you see the deleted scenes compared to the the novelization, it is quite interesting how there are the comparisons. Now, some of the deleted scenes also added some things to the story. Some deleted scenes are more scene trims because it needs to keep a faster pace of story. That's one thing where sometimes there's too much information in writing. I do that myself, add too much storytelling instead of keeping a faster flow of the story. Number 6. Source material to novelization. Now, yes, the author did go off the original source material when comparing to what was previously mentioned. With that, I'm not against the author. I have my own preferences on it. But again, a lot of the context to the story, it is what it is. Though He also went on to write 23 episodes of the cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters. He also did 2 episodes of Extreme Ghostbusters. Now, he also wrote the more heartwarming stories of The Real Ghostbusters, which introduced characters to their family, which added just different layers to the characters and different conflict and conflict resolution. It is thought-provoking for a younger age, and that's why some things, even though it was G-rated, parental guidance means guiding children, and we should be explaining things to children. Now, obviously, with a lot of the subject matter in the novelization, no, it's certainly not for children. The movie really does need children to have things explained to them, especially with certain other scenes. Which brings me to another point. Number 5. Peter Venkman, the Predator.
Say what? I'll take Miss Barrett back to her apartment and check her out. I'll go check out Miss Barrett's apartment. I am madly in love with you.
Don't believe this. Will you please leave?
I'll bet you're going to be thinking about me after I'm gone.
I bet I am.
No kiss.
Do you think I have it, Dr. Venkman?
You're no fluke, Jennifer.
I want this body.
Is this a trick question? I just whacked her up with about 300 cc's of Thorazine. She's going to take a little nap now.
Yeah, so in the film, there's these few red flags that you'll see on a first date, mind you. I want to make that clear, a first date. Why does he have this dangerous drug? And actually researching into it more and talking to a few professionals, he is actually giving a correct dose to someone with extreme case of schizophrenia. But why does he have the drug in the first place on a first date? Now, he's in a Ghostbuster, he's going to run into trouble. Shouldn't he maybe have a proton pack with him and not this type of dangerous drug? So, yeah, there are a few things within the story that add more to Peter's character, where even in the beginning scene, when he's doing the experiment, he's also playing a bit of footsies and really flirting with the person. The internal dialogue also doesn't help with this character. Now, when listening to the audiobook, it just felt even more disturbing, as if he was a real serious predator. But that's the type of expert that he is within that profession. I didn't like this character at all. And yeah, there was just something more where I didn't feel like it was necessary, even for a comedy. The target audience was for adults, not for children, which then changed things later after the success of Ghostbusters and releasing the cartoon. However, I still ask the question, why did he have this drug in the first place? Number 4. High-functioning Aspergers. So one thing Dan Aykroyd does admit to is having Aspergers. Now, he is also at the high-functioning end of the spectrum. He talked about having certain mild Tourette's when he was younger. He went into therapy in his teen years, and it has paid off. He is quite successful. He has also written 8 screenplays. He has starred in films. One of the more complicated stories that he did do was Nothing But Trouble, where he wrote the movie, acted as the antagonist, directed the film, and also played another part in the film where he was so busy on set, he was even directed the movie Looking Like This. Yeah, get that out of your nightmares. So, from Ghostbusters, yes, through this hardship of writing the script and writing the story, he has done quite well. Though, I do have concerns because of what he wrote, but in another sense, good on him. So, yeah, go for those dreams. Which brings me to a more disturbing point. Number 3. The Dream Ghost is canon.
La religion de noyau central est civilisateur. I don't even understand French.
Now, yes, with the Dream Ghost, it is canon. Now, there are a few points with it. Now, this is the only ghost that's referenced as a phantasm.
Hey, Stan! You alright in there?
Later, man!
That's a big part of the novelization I want to make clear. So, there's that part that, yes, it is confirmed that he is having freaky time with a ghost. It's not confirmed in more details than that. The deleted scene is TMI enough. Now, with this particular story, it also says in Tobin's Spirit Guide, I looked up more information on this, and it confirms that Ray has determined that the phantasm is not a danger to anyone in society, but still monitors the ghost from time to time. Now, come on, seriously, does it need to be canon? Then in the novelization, so when the ghosts, the containment unit shut down, the ghosts running amok, there are a couple other scenes, and one was a Broadway musical, and it was sort of like, it was a good show, and yes, there's a stripper on stage, and I'm like, come on, enough already. And that's not even the half of it. So I'll just play this little bit of audio from the audiobook. So again, use your imagination. Please do, please don't. But it is also referenced as a phantasm. So yes, this ghost can swing both ways.
In the customer payroll department of Security Atlantic Bank and Trust, most of the employees had their eyes on the clock. Just 15 minutes to lunch. From her office, the department manager noticed the situation and determined once and for all to put a stop to it. We'll see how they like staying late. She rose, walked to the doorway of the section, and cleared her throat loudly. A few of the employees looked up, guilt written on their faces. I have something to say to you all, she began, and this applies to more than one of you. She stopped, puzzled. Something was tickling her legs. She looked down as surreptitiously as she could, but there was nothing there. She determined to ignore it. As I was saying, my God, there's a hand tickling my legs. She gave a yelp of surprise and slapped at the front of her dress. Someone giggled. What's happening? It feels so... She struggled to turn and headed for the restroom. She barely made the door. The typists and clerks looked at each other and laughed. But the phantasm was not alone. They were all late for lunch.
The phantasm wasn't alone. They were all late for lunch. My God. Anyways, point number 2. Did the theme take over? I will say with the novelization, one of the minor themes that should have been minor with the sexual references, yes, it took over with the novelization. Absolutely, without a doubt. It's no longer a story that... It lost its essence compared to the film, and I do see why there were changes. So, with learning from this within your writing, you could have a theme. So, just say if you were watching The Dark Knight, there is the theme of poker in a lot of the references.
I'll show you. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
Now, think about this mistake, and I do say it as a mistake. The novelization, yes, I wish in a lot of ways I didn't read it. However, compared to the Ghostbusters 2 novelization, I loved it. It was fantastic, and I prefer it. This is a novelization you can learn a lot of mistakes from, which can help with your writing. So that's one thing I want to get out of this. Number 1, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I don't know. Mom, Phoebe.
Now, Ghostbusters Afterlife had a very heavy theme from the first film. It repeated a lot of the dialogue. It was still having its own identity. That was something that got lost with Ghostbusters 2, and with the 2016 movie, it didn't form its own identity, and in some way it tried. So with Ghostbusters Afterlife, I do appreciate that they kept the story clean. It had those sexual references, but it was done to still target for a wider audience. With all of that being said, I find the novelization, as much as I didn't like it, I still learnt a lot from it. And that's another thing. You're not going to always have the perfect book, the perfect formula to follow from. But with novelizations, 3 key points I want to point out is you're comparing the film to deleted scenes and the novelization. And when you're doing that, you can see some differences that can help and assist you with your writing. Otherwise, that's it for today. Hit like, subscribe, comment. I've also posted for the Ghostbusters 2 video. I really did love this novelization. Out of all the novelizations I read, I enjoyed this one the most. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.